All right. Welcome back, football faithful, to the Draft Podcast, a proud member of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network, your front row seat to the NFL Draft. I'm your host, Paul Adamzak. Let's start off. What a game last night. Congratulations to the Hoosiers, Coach Signetti, Fernando Mendoza, everybody involved on that side of the ball. What a game played by the University of Miami as well. Cristobal, Beck, Malachi Toney, that entire defense, the trenches on both sides of the ball. Incredible to watch. I'm glad we got the two best teams in the country because it was a real pleasure to watch a game that wasn't one-sided or decided early. I was forced to stay up till 11:30 to watch the ending of that one, so that was fun. But enough of that. Let's get into the draft talk. Although first off, I do really want to mention how much I appreciate everyone tuning in. Last week, we looked back at my hits and misses from the draft season, victory lapping what I got right, owning what I got wrong. We also started tracking some of the important draft declaration decisions, which have since been made. A few of those guys decided to go back to school, as we mentioned. Dante Moore and John Mateer will both be donning their college jerseys the fall of 2026. And a few of them, as we mentioned, officially put their names in the hat for the 2026 draft, including Takario Davis and Jake Slaughter. So tonight should be an absolute banger. We're talking about what might be the most misunderstood position group in this entire draft cycle, the maligned 2026 quarterback class. Because right now the narrative has been simple, straightforward, and quite frankly, lazy. What do we keep hearing? Beyond Fernando Mendoza, who played awesome last night, this is a weak quarterback class. No blue chip guys, no reason to dig in. Let's just fast forward to 2027 and tank away 2026 and we'll move on, right? And that's the exact kind of thinking that gets people in trouble. Let me remind you what this quarterback's conversation looked like 6 months ago. The top of the board in the 2026 draft, supposed to be Manning, Klubnik, Sellers, Aller, Nussmeier. Fernando Mendoza was an afterthought. Carson Beck was left for dead. No one even knew the name Dante Moore. To be honest, we didn't know anything. And that's my whole point. Projecting quarterback classes even a year out is mostly a guessing game, and that's why tonight's episode will make you smarter. Quarterback is one of the few positions where at this point in the process, for the most part, the hay is in the barn. We've already got the tape. We've got the stats. The combine doesn't really tell you much at quarterback unless somebody rips off a sub 4.5 40. The workouts don't change the evaluation. The medicals and interviews matter, sure, but throwing routes in gym shorts doesn't show you how a guy processes on 3rd and 8 with a guy in his face and another one coming around the corner. And don't get me started on pro days. 30 to 50 scripted throws on air, that doesn't change the evaluation. They mostly just give you opportunities to hurt yourself as a quarterback. When teams overreact to pro day throws, that's how you end up drafting Zach Wilson 2nd overall. Yikes. So today, I want to do this the right way. I want to rank these quarterbacks coming off the season. I mean, literally it ended last night. Let's talk about it today. Before the agent-driven narratives, all the smoke screens, and to be quite frank, silly season takes over. But before we start pretending February workouts outweigh November tape, I've got a full top 10 QB board that might look a little uncomfortable right now, but won't feel that way once the season starts. And I've got 3 bonus, we'll call them the best of the rest names that I think are going to age very well as well. This isn't about calling the class great. It's just about refusing to call it dead here in late January, guys. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on before we got into the top 10 list. One thing that comes up every time I evaluate quarterbacks, and this cycle's example specifically is Ty Simpson, is how much starting experience actually matters at the NFL level. Top of the list, Dylan Gabriel's the all-time leader at 63 starts. Bo Nix had 61, who was the leader before Gabriel. Most of the established starters in the league have well north of 30 college starts. And when you dig into it, the outliers are actually incredibly rare. In fact, only 3 starting quarterbacks in today's NFL had fewer than 30 starts coming out of college, and still became legitimate long-term starters. One of them is Bryce Young, who had 28. And even there, it's fair to say that the verdict is still out, whether he's a long-term solution in Carolina. Although if you watch that playoff game, you saw exactly why he survived to this moment. He's undersized. He doesn't have a cannon, but he processes really fast. He makes plays with his feet, and he understands what it takes to win. So he's one of the three. Who are the other two guys? Patrick Mahomes, 29 starts, and Josh Allen with 27. And those guys aren't really examples. They are, by definition, they are the exceptions. They're superhuman. Everyone else had to actually play. Now, here's where it gets more concerning, specifically for Ty Simpson in this cycle, but for others as well. I put together a list of first-round quarterbacks over the last 15 drafts, going back to Mark Sanchez with 13 career starts before he went 11th overall in 2009. Specifically, I looked at first-round quarterbacks who entered the league with fewer than 20 career starts, and the names aren't comforting. Here it is. 13 starts, Mitch Trubisky, bust. 13 starts, Anthony Richardson, bust. Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, 14 starts. All of those guys were asked to make the jump before they were ready, and the results were a predictable disaster. There is an exception on the list. Cam Newton had 14 starts, and the 2015 NFL MVP was superhuman for a couple of years, for sure. But once the wear and tear caught up, once the mobility was gone, so was the effectiveness. We'll continue on the list. Kyler Murray had 15 starts. Jury's kind of still out. Is he still going to be in Arizona next year? I don't think so. Trey Lance had 17. Yikes. Ryan Tannehill, who played wide receiver, had 19 starts at quarterback. Different circumstances, different outcomes, but the common thread here is projection over preparation when it came to where they ended up getting drafted. Playing quarterback at the NFL level isn't just about traits. It's about reps. It's about seeing the same looks over and over again until your body reacts faster than your brain. You've got to be able to manage the game, not play out of control, while simultaneously being able to play well when things are out of control. I think we just saw Caleb Williams struggle with that this weekend. In structure, he's not great, but outside of it, he's incredible. He's just got to be able to manage that better. It's about overcoming bad games, bad surrounding cast, bad moments, surviving them and moving on. So when teams draft quarterbacks with limited starts, they're not drafting what the player is, they're drafting what they hope he becomes. And to quote Vince Lombardi, hope is not a strategy. So it isn't an arbitrary number, it's evidence. If a quarterback hasn't been tested over time, hasn't failed, hasn't adjusted, and then it's succeeded again, then the NFL becomes the laboratory for that. And historically, that's where careers go to die. Starts matter, not because they guarantee success, but because the absence of them almost guarantees failure. So with that, I'm going to include on my list of top 10 quarterbacks here the number of starts that they've had in their collegiate careers. And I want you to know that number played into, in a big way, how I rank these guys coming out. So at the top of the list, we did a nice thing this week. We've got some more graphics if you're watching the on the YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching. I appreciate you. At number one, absolutely no surprise to anyone who's paid attention. And if you're watching draft coverage in late January, you've obviously paid attention. So we're going to start the list with number one, Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana, the all-everything national championship winner, MVP of the game last night, Heisman Trophy winner, Maxwell Award winner, that's the player of the year. He was a Davey O'Brien Award winner for the best quarterback. 35 starts, including last night. He's listed at 6'5", 225 pounds. For each of these top 10, I tried to condense this so we're not here for an hour and a half. I'm going to try to do a 30-minute show. It might extend to 40, 45. You guys know how I am. We'll see how it goes. But I have a pros list, I have a cons list, and then I have an overall evaluation. So we'll start with Mendoza, obviously. The pros. He's an advanced processor. He sees it early. He sees it pre-snap. He gets it out on time. Great example of that last night. All those easy access throws that they were talking about outside the numbers. If the corner's going to be 10 yards off, listen, I'm going to put the ball outside before he has time to react to it. He is a natural touch thrower. He understands trajectory. He understands leverage. And we saw it a few times last night, able to fit the ball into tight windows. They talk about layering throws. That's over top a linebacker, underneath a safety. He's very good at that. We see the calm feet in the pocket. He doesn't speed himself up. He's not a statue, but he doesn't look crazy under pressure. And he consistently plays winning football from structure, which is big. He's not the super creative guy, but maintaining structure, quarterbacks, coaches at the next level are going to love that. You need to be able to play within structure. Now the cons list. It's not a power thrower. The arm is good, but it's not Mahomes. It's not Allen. It's not Stafford. It's good. It's not special. I did mention the limited off-script wow plays. He played so efficiently from the pocket that it's almost like, well, you don't really need them. You're going to need them at the next level. He's not terrible at them, but there's just not a whole lot of evidence, especially this year at Indiana. So I'd say that, and I put on the cons list, his ceiling is more efficiency than explosion. All right, so I'd say overall, and we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on Mendoza. You guys watched him. He's the cleanest evaluation of the class. He wins with anticipation, accuracy, and control. He's not flashy, but he is reliable, and reliability translates. So if you're looking for a quarterback who can run your offense, keep you on schedule, he's the safest bet in the group. Plus, he's a better-than-you-think athlete with some straight-line speed that might be enough to hold linebackers in coverage, but he will need a good interior offensive line. And I wrote that little script up before that awesome touchdown run last night. So Fernando Mendoza, our number one. And I don't want to really give away the game here, but I've got some more. So 2, 3, and 4 aren't going to be surprising when you see it pop up on your screen. If you're the audio only, if you're listening on Spotify, you won't see these awesome graphics, but we're going to go to number 2, 3, and 4 here. Number 2 quarterback on my list, and this is where I tend to veer from the mainstream think now. I don't think this is going to be crazy when we get to the end of April. This is who I think the second best quarterback in this draft class is. It's Garrett Nussmeier. 27 starts out of LSU, 2-year starter, 6'1", 205 pounds. On the pros, live arm. This guy can drive the ball any level of the field. Where you want it to go, he can get it there. Another pro, he is willing to challenge those tight window throws. He ain't afraid. If he sees it and he wants to go after it, he will do his darndest to put that ball there. He is comfortable pushing the ball vertically, and he's always looking to create explosive plays. Son of a coach. This guy wants big plays. If he's looking at the defense and on every snap, all right, where's my number one guy? Are they pressed up on him? Is there safety over top there? Do we have a shot at a deep ball right here? He's looking for it. 1st and 10, 3rd and short. He wants the big play, which brings me to our cons list. Aggressive to a fault. And I think that was his biggest thing, especially this year. They lost a lot along the offensive line. The 4th overall pick in the draft, I believe, was his left tackle. Miles Frazier was a 3rd-round pick, so it was a little bit tougher this year than his first year as a starter. So I think that he wanted to get those numbers up. So aggressive to a fault, I put on the cons list. Decision-making can drift when pressured. That was littered throughout the tape, especially this past season. And he's not a pure rhythm quarterback. I don't want to say he's the anti-Mendoza, but we're talking about 2 different guys here. The overall grade on Nussmeier, why do I have him number 2? One of the most fascinating evaluations in this class. A coach's son with clear NFL arm talent, high-end competitiveness, and fearless playmaking ability. Real questions about efficiency, though, scheme, discipline, and durability. That's going to be top of mind come combine time, is that durability. Exploded in his first season as QB1, eclipsing 4,000 yards and flashing the ability to make every throw on the field. Layered touch shots, anticipatory window throws, off-platform lasers. You want it, he's got it. The tape is teeming with big-time moments, but also with volatility. Forced throws, streaky accuracy when he tries to drive the ball, and turnover-worthy decisions when he's behind the chains and hunting for explosives. Good enough athlete to extend plays, but by no means a runner. And while he doesn't play small, he kind of does have a lean frame and took a ton of punishment in the SEC. He missed half the season with an abdominal injury this year. It's a real fear. But I say all that to say, I see starter level play in a system that leans into play action, pre-snap movement, and defined reads. The final evaluation hinges on whether he can rein in the gunslinger tendencies. And is that 6 months in an offseason with the right coach? Or is that a couple of years of sitting on the bench and sitting behind an experienced QB to kind of teach him the ways of the NFL? I don't know. I think he needs to improve his situational efficiency and add enough functional strength to survive the weekly grind of the NFL. Right now, he profiles as a high ceiling, high variance quarterback with winning starter potential. There aren't many starters in this draft. I think Nussmeier goes, I'm not willing to say he's a first round talent yet. I think latest he goes is early second. He's going to be one of those guys that people are fighting for on day 2. Number 3, another one who ahead of Ty Simpson. Here's why. Carson Beck, quarterback of Miami. We watched him last night. 6'4", 220 pounds. He started 43 college football games, over 2,200 snaps in his college career. Let's talk about the pros. Accurate rhythm passer, good ball placement in the short and intermediate game, comfortable operating on schedule, and he protects the football. He does. He's done a real nice job of that this year. Bad interception to end his career, but he does protect the football. Cons: limited creativity outside of structure. He's not a playmaker either. He's played from the pocket. Doesn't consistently elevate when the play breaks down. He had some last night, but we saw the good and the bad last night. That third down and short laser beam from the right to the left side of the field to number 7, the receiver, I can't remember the kid's name, did a great job. Doesn't do it consistently, as we saw. And then I think his ceiling is going to be system dependent. Overall evaluation of Carson Beck, this guy who played a ton of football. He is a distributor. He wins when the offense is clean and defined. He's not going to save broken plays often, but he often won't sink you either. Best fit is a timing-based offense that values efficiency over improvisation. Really, I see a prototypically sized NFL QB with above average everything, but nothing spectacular. He's a guy who's been there, done that, and will make an opening day 53-man roster. I feel very comfortable saying that. There's a couple of QBs who he is more talented than, who got drafted or undrafted last year, who made rosters. Carson Beck will be on a 53 somewhere next year. He'll be somebody's QB too. He's a little bit older for a rookie, but prototypical size, ability to see coverages, more than enough arm. He'll make a roster. Which brings us to number 4. Most people's, or I should say, the media darling number 2 QB right now, and I don't think that's the case. And here's why. Ty Simpson, quarterback from Alabama, 6'2", 208 pounds, 15 career starts, 4 years at Alabama, 15 career starts. The pros: strong pre-snap command, sees the coverage, handles protections. They gave him a lot of responsibility at Alabama in his lone season as a starter, and I thought he handled that very, very well. Not only just as a first-year starter, but as a quarterback overall in college. Did a really nice job with the pre-snap. Good decision maker. He doesn't look for trouble. The anti-Nussmeier, he's not looking for anything dangerous at all. Captain check down. Plays within structure, understands situational football. Another guy a coach will love. And he has NFL-ready habits. He knows, again, this is sort of the we'll say the Sunday through Friday stuff for the college schedule. The game is Saturday. What's he doing Sunday through the following Friday? He's very, very good at that. That will play well for him at the next level. Now the cons: limited starting experience. I did a whole diatribe about this at the beginning of tonight's episode. basically saying that, I mean, Cam Newton is the only guy with less than 15 starts with who's made it in the last 15 years. Is Ty Simpson going to break that? Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. I don't think early on, which is why I have him behind Carson Beck, who I just told you is a backup level guy. He's not a top 32 quarterback. I think Carson Beck's a top 64 quarterback. I think Ty Simpson could be in that 32 to 64 range. But I don't see him as even an emergency level quarterback right away. Still developing comfort when the pocket gets muddy. The arm talent is solid, not elite. I think his brain is what keeps him in the NFL. Overall, I think he's a coach's quarterback. He understands how to play the position. He doesn't try to do too much. The ceiling might not be elite, but the floor is really high. He has all the tools. But if you're looking for a guy who can come in and play right away, he's not your guy. He's a long-term bet to be a starter, but he's a guy who I can see having a good NFL career as a journeyman backup. That's where I'm at on Ty Simpson, journeyman backup. Let's get to another graphic. 5, 6, and 7. And we're going to start with a guy at number 5 who was in the top 5, higher in the top 5 to start the year. Fell off quite a bit. And that's Penn State's Drew Aller. 34 career starts as a Nittany Lion, 6'5", 235 pounds. Who does that sound like? Sounds like Drew Aller. Or sounds like Josh Allen. The pros. Prototypical arm, prototypical size. Guy walks in a room, you've never been around a quarterback before, but you look at the guy and go, that's an NFL player. He can make all the NFL level throws inside the pocket or outside the pocket. Put it wherever you want. There is vertical passing upside just because he can throw the ball 75 yards. He has traits that are hard, if not impossible, to coach. Now for the cons list. He is inconsistent as the day is long. And I mean snap to snap. Not quarter to quarter, not game to game. Snap to snap. He can follow up an incredible, wow, like there are only a few human beings on the planet who can make that throw to the next play going, what was that? A lot of that has to do with the inconsistency in his footwork and processing. They can both drift. And again, it's snap to snap. So it's it's more projection than production with Drew Aller, and that's why he's 5th. There is so much there. And I like to use Josh Allen as my comp because for 3 years, Josh Allen was wasn't good. And then Brian Daboll came in and he figured things out because Allen always had the tools. It was just about putting it together. Drew Aller has the tools. He has the upside swing. He passes the eye test of an NFL quarterback, but the jury's still out, to be quite honest. And I wrote this in my overall because this is a Drew Aller quote that I thought was perfect. As a former pitcher, he once said he either struck batters out or walked them. And that's exactly how he plays quarterback. A lot of good and a lot of, what the hell was that? We'll call them regrettable plays. The best throws, his best throws, are all the best throws in this class, but he lacks consistency in how, when, and why the ball comes out of his hands. He has starter-level tools, but he must show more respect for defenses and commit more fully to the fundamentals to reach his sky-high potential. So that's it. We're through 5. I've got 5 to go, and I'm looking at my time here, and I'm going, we got to speed this up a little bit, Paul. So number 6, Cade Klubnik. Prohibitive number 1 QB coming into the year, right? 40 games started by Cade Klubnik. 6'2", 210 pounds, mobile, tough, comfortable expending plays, competitive, a steady presence. And if you follow like the stuff like the Manning Passing Academy, where pros go to, all the high school kids go to, and a lot of the top college QBs go to, Cade Klubnik was that dude this past year. He was the alpha. He was that guy at that camp, and I think a lot of that had to do with the reason he was number 1 on a lot of people's boards going into the 2025 season. However, he has plenty of cons. Average high-end arm strength. There's enough, but it's not overwhelming. He does not consistently generate explosive throws, and the ceiling, therefore, might be capped. Overall, he is solid. He brings a winner's mentality, supported by consistent success at high school and college levels. He's a 2-time state champion in high school, 3-year starter at Clemson. Alpha dog leader, as I mentioned, the man at last summer's Manning Passing Academy. When the mechanics are clean, he's a fun, easy-to-watch player. But as a pro prospect, he faces a number of questions, like the tendency to stand on his toes, and sometimes unnecessarily shortens his follow-through, which affects his ball placement more often than it should. He has enough arm talent, but it often looks like it requires full body effort, which you're not going to have the luxury of being able to do in the NFL. If he can become more consistent fundamentally, especially throwing on the run, he is an intriguing athletic passer. And I actually think he's more talented than Riley Leonard, who made the Colts roster by season's end last year. I think he's a better passer at this point in his career than Riley Leonard ever was. So that's number 6, Cade Klubnik. Number 7, one of, and I'm going to put a little asterisk by him now, my guys. I don't know if long-term this dude is a quarterback in the NFL level, but, and I like the example of when this guy walks in the room, what do you think about him? Because you can see him on tape and you see him from the stands and you see him in the interviews, and it doesn't really dawn upon you how large some of these human beings are. Taylon Green, quarterback from Arkansas, 48 college starts. Now, he transferred from Boise. He had 25 starts at Boise State. He had 23 starts at Arkansas. 6'6", 230 pounds. And this is a guy who I will be paying very close attention to when he runs his 40, if he runs his 40, at the combine or at least at his pro day. Here are the pros. Rare athlete for the position. Rare. Dynamic runner who stresses defenses. It's true 11-on-11 football. Strong arm when the mechanics are right, which they always aren't, and can create outside of structure. We talked about being able to play outside structure. This guy's an outside structure player. The cons, very raw as a passer. He's going to need a tailored offensive system. He and Fernando Mendoza are not going to operate this same offense when they get to the next level. And I think he's a developmental piece because timing and anticipation need a lot of work. I have him at 7 overall because he is a ceiling-based evaluation. Strong athlete for his size. I mean, I'm talking like Jalen Hurts level built, particularly for the quarterback position. Rare tools that flash at times, not consistently, but so many times that you just, wow. The development as a passer was still raw. It got better from Boise to Arkansas. There's still a ways to go. Inconsistent mechanically. Not a great anticipatory thrower. He's more of a see it, throw it guy. Limited pre-snap. What's the play? All right, we're going to run that. In the current state, Green may have more upside as a position convert to wide receiver or tight end, where his athletic traits could translate more effectively to the NFL. I say that to say I love this athlete. I'm sure he gets drafted just because 6'6", 230-pound dudes who can throw the ball like he can do not come along every day. So he's my number 7 quarterback on this list of my top 10. We're going to round out the top 10 with these final 3 and another graphic here for those watching. At number 8, a guy I talked a little bit about last week, and I should probably put an asterisk on him now because the more I read about him, I started writing this probably Saturday or Sunday. The more I read, Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback from Ole Miss, 30 career starts, 16 at Division II Ferris State, 14 at Ole Miss. May or actually may not be in this draft class. He applied for a 6-year and was denied a waiver for that 6 year. So inexorably, you'd think he'd enter the 26th draft, which he's eligible for. But since I put him in at number 8, he has appealed that decision. So he may actually be back at Ole Miss or somewhere else next year. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to be denied that waiver and he's going to enter. So at 6'1", 200 pounds, 1 season of starting experience in the SEC, Division I level. Pros, he is an athletic dual threat ability, can push the ball vertically, and he does have experience against SEC competition. Again, 30 starts exactly. He met the threshold. Now the cons. There is a thin margin for error for this guy. Processing speed has been inconsistent, and a lot of that has to do with moving up from D2 to D1. He is going to be a projection-heavy evaluation. And as I mentioned earlier, when you get more into projection than production, things get dicey at the quarterback position. I say that to say this. He is a high-end athlete with real arm talent, whose evaluation is more projection than polish. Former Division II national champion, made a remarkably smooth jump to the FBS, showing legitimate dual threat ability with 4.4 speed, explosive scramble juice, and a confident deep ball that stresses defenses vertically and horizontally. The best tape shows a fearless gamer who can win off script, extend broken plays, and punish defenses that lose contain. But the volatility is real. At 6'1", right around 200 pounds, durability is a major concern. Batted balls show up on tape, and the tendency to bail from clean pockets reveals a passer still learning NFL timing and structure, especially on intermediate anticipation throws. Protects the football well and plays with poise, but with only one season of FBS under his belt, refinement as a pocket operator remains the biggest hurdle to NFL success. Teams running spread, RPO, or movement-heavy systems, he profiles as a developmental day 3 quarterback with high-end backup upside and the athletic ceiling to push for real snaps by year 2 or 3, assuming he adds functional strength and sharpens that pocket discipline and really learns to live for the next down. So Trinidad Chambliss, he's going to be all over. There's going to be people who are going to tell you and bang their fists on the table that he's a first-round guy. He's not. He's not. He's a day 3 guy. He's too small to be a round 1 guy. The smallest quarterback I've ever seen go round 1 was Kyler Murray, went first overall. And Kyler Murray is in another world athletically than even Trinidad Chambliss. So it's not close. I don't like that comparison at all. So I have him 8th on my list, and I think in some cases it may be generous. Because number 9, Sawyer Robinson, the big guy out of Baylor. 27 starts in his career, 6'4", 220 pounds. And if you're not familiar with Sawyer Robinson, here you go. Get familiar. You're going to start hearing about this guy. Comfortable running an offense, multiple-year starter down there at Baylor. Confident thrower. Another guy that you want to see growth year over year over year. You see that with Robertson. Competitive presence. He is emotional. He is animated. He's a guy that guys in the huddle love playing for. If you're going into a competitive situation, he's a guy you want on your roster. Love the size, love the competitor, love the fire. Now, cons. There are some arm strength questions. I think it is above average. I don't think he is going to be, again, we talk about the big arms. The big arms at the NFL level are ridiculous. He has more than enough. I think another con is there's going to be some questions about the system that he's coming from. Was it the system? Is it his skill? There's a debate there, and I think that'll flesh itself out in the next couple of weeks. And there is consistently on tape that he needs clean pockets. Not good from a messy pocket, which is why I have him all the way down at 9. He's a developmental piece. But I'll say this. Robertson looks the part of an NFL quarterback. Has the size, has an adequate arm strength to rip it at the next level. Wide kick in the follow-through, likely a carryover from his baseball days, but it doesn't appear to impact his accuracy, which it does for some guys. And while he's not a true dual threat, he's athletic enough to pick up first downs with his legs. Consistently gives his receivers a chance to win one-on-one. You like that? Which leads to solid results in against man coverage. He's going to struggle against zone looks. He was not good judging range of defenders, and those windows get even smaller at the NFL level, which I think he's a developmental level. But if he impresses in the interviews, he has a shot at becoming a top 100 pick. So I can see a world where if Robertson shows out well on the whiteboard or the chalkboard, however you want to look at it, that he gets drafted over Chambliss because 6'4", 220 looks different than 6'1", 190. And that's that. But right now I have Chambliss over him because of the athleticism. And finally, rounding out the top 10, Another guy that you're probably not going to see in other top 10s because there's some bigger, we'll say, names out there. This guy makes a roster. Miller Moss, quarterback out of Louisville, 23 career starts, 6'2", 210 pounds. Not huge. But the pros, sound mechanically. He understands concept football. He is an on-time, on-target thrower, gets the ball out on time, and a guy that just avoids negative plays. Now, the cons are evident. Limited physical upside, not a creator outside of structure. And really, he's nothing more than a backup. I think Jake Browning. Nothing really spectacular there, but if you need a guy for a quarter, maybe a game, a series or two, he's not going to hurt you. Overall, I have him at 10 on this list because it's not a stupendous year for quarterbacks, but I think Louisville coach Jeff Brom is one of the best QB developers in the country. Think about guys like Aiden O'Connell, Tyler Shuck last year, David Blau, Mike White, guys who get meaningful NFL careers. Miller Moss started 9 games at USC before transferring to Louisville. He is a backup plus profile. He knows how to play the position, won't hurt you when he's on the field. You're drafting him for stability, not stardom. So I think this guy's worth a late round pick for teams looking to add competition to their quarterback room. That's where I'm at with that. So that's my top 10. Whether you love it, whether you hate it, I'd appreciate it if you let me know. Hopefully there's a name or two in there that surprised you or at least made you think a little differently about this class and guys that are available to maybe your team should you need a quarterback. But the reality is, quarterback conversation never stops at 10. Over the last 10 years, the average of 11.8 quarterbacks have been selected every year. Some years it's 9, like in 2022. Some years it's 15, like in 2016. Last year, there were 13 quarterbacks that came off the board, which is why before we get out of here, I'm going to hit 3 more names before we wrap this up. Guys who didn't quite crack my top 10 in terms of realistic NFL upside, but who absolutely deserve mention because these are quarterbacks I have my eye on. They have unique traits that are going to earn them NFL looks. So we call this the best of the rest. We're going to start with Diego Pavia, guy from Vanderbilt, Heisman finalist, 33-20 in his career. He was 17-11 at New Mexico State. He was then 16-9 at perennial SEC All-Star team Vanderbilt. Okay, impressive career, though not impressively sized. 10,255 career pass yards, better than 60% completion percentage. He has a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 88-27 through the air. Also, as a runner, he added over 3,000 yards on the ground, averaged 4.9 yards per carry, and as a legitimate guy, threat in the red zone. 31 rushing touchdowns, over 120 or 119, 129, something like that. 120 touchdowns in his college career. Unbelievable. 53 starts. Another guy on the list here, bonus player, Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. 10th player in Big 12 conference history to have 9,000 pass yards, at least 60 passing touchdowns, and 20 rushing touchdowns in his career. He's built like a running back. Another guy who may be a position switch at the NFL level, but he's going to get some looks. He's very athletic, guy who's played a lot of football. Interesting name to watch. He might be a priority UDFA, but Jalen Daniels will be in training camp next year. And finally, Haynes King completed nearly 70% of his passes at Georgia Tech in 2025, 69.8%. Also had double-digit rushing touchdowns now 3 straight years. Simple evaluation on this one. 6'3", 215 pounds, big arm, ran 4.45. We'll see who he runs at the combine or his pro day. Take the upside, man. 70% passer with 4.45 speed, and he's not diminutive. He'll be on a training camp roster somewhere. So that's where the 2026 quarterback class stands right now. 93 days before the draft, before the combine, before pro days, before the agents start whispering and the teams start lying. The evaluation comes off of real football. Some of these guys are going to rise. Some of them are going to fall, but most importantly, some are going to remind people why writing off a quarterback class in January is usually a mistake. Oh, and I lost my place here. So next week on the podcast, the process is going to shift. Episode 3 will be your Senior Bowl primer. That game is Saturday, January 31st in Mobile, Alabama. And this year's invite list is absolutely loaded. A few of the quarterbacks we discussed tonight, some we didn't. Wide receivers, the trenches, cornerbacks, linebackers. We talked about Gray Zabel, Jackson Slater from last year. Guys who got drafted higher because of their Senior Bowl performance. This is where evaluations stop being hypothetical and start getting stress tested against NFL caliber players, real competition. So I'll break down who's going, which players have the most to gain, which players have the most to lose, who stood out after 2 days of practices in Mobile, because those are going to start next Monday. Our next episode will be next Tuesday night. So that episode drops January 27th. If you care about the draft beyond mock drafts and buzzwords, you won't want to miss it. So that's it for me tonight for the Draft Podcast, part of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network. I'm Paul Adamczak. We'll talk soon.